All right, let's start the paper. It's IGCSE, paper 4, May-June 2024, variance 42. A list of gases is shown. Each gas may be used once, more than once, or not at all. State one gas, which is the main constituent of natural gas. Natural gas is basically methane. So methane is going to be the right answer. Is responsible for both photochemical smog and acid rain. Nitrogen dioxide reacts with unburned hydrocarbon in the atmosphere and make photochemical smog. Also, nitrogen dioxide, when treated with water, it will turn to an acid rain. So, nitrogen dioxide is the right answer. Is unsaturated. Unsaturated means double bond or triple bond between the carbon atom. So I think it's propene because it is an alkene and all alkenes are unsaturated. Next is monatomic particles. Monatomic particles means consist of one atom. So all noble gases are monatomic. Let me check which noble gas we have. Helium. So helium would be the right answer. Next is reduces iron 3 oxide in the blast furnace. Obviously carbon monoxide. It's given in the list. Now the next part is nitrogen dioxide, which has a formula of NO2, and carbon monoxide, which has a formula of CO. They are technically reacting together and removed from the car exhaust by catalytic converter. Write the symbol equation for this reaction. So that's an easy thing. We have done that in class. Nitrogen dioxide and carbon monoxide converting into carbon dioxide and नाइट्रोजन. सो अगर हमने यहाँ पर N2 लिया है तो हम यहाँ पर भी 2 लगाएंगे. वी हैव टोटल हाउ मेनी ऑक्सीजन? 4 + 1 5. सो 5 ऑक्सीजन हमें कंप्लीट करनी है. तो 5 ऑक्सीजन कंप्लीट करने के लिए हम इक्वेशन को बैलेंस करते हैं और इक्वेशन को बैलेंस करने के लिए व्हाट वी कैन डू इज कि हम यहाँ पर हम यहाँ पर 4 अप्लाई करते हैं. सो हाउ मेनी कार्बन एटम्स वी हैव? 4. सो हम यहाँ पर 2 अप्लाई करते हैं. सो हाउ मेनी? Oh, so it has to be 4 carbon. Now let's check. We have 4 carbon here, 4 carbon here. We have 2 nitrogen here. We have 2 nitrogen here. 2 times 2, 4 oxygen. 4 plus 4, 8. 4 times 2, 8 oxygen. So it's a balanced chemical equation. It is gas. It is gas. It is gas. And nitrogen is also a gaseous substance. Okay. So that's the end of first question. Let's move on to the second one. A list of 5 metals is shown. कॉपर, आयरन, मैग्नीशियम, पोटेशियम एंड सिल्वर. हम सब जानते हैं कि पोटेशियम इज मोस्ट रिएक्टिव. उससे कम मैग्नीशियम है, उससे कम आयरन है, उससे कम कॉपर है और सबसे कम सिल्वर की रिएक्टिविटी है. सो ऑल मेटल्स forms positive ion. Positive ions also called cations, and cations are formed by the loss of electron. So describe how atoms forms positive ion by the loss of electron. Okay, and positive ion is basically cation. State which of the 5 metal in the list has the greatest tendency to form positive ion. Simple format. The more reactive the metal is, the greater the tendency to form positive ion. most reactive, metals, most reactive metal form cation easily. So I believe potassium would be the right answer, because potassium is the most reactive metal. Let me show you the most reactive metal. So potassium is most reactive. उससे कम magnesium. Then we have iron. Then we have copper. Last but not the least, silver. So it is less reactive and it is most reactive. Suggest one of the 5 metals in the list which is not likely to show catalytic property. Obviously, transition element shows catalytic property. So copper, iron, and silver, they will act uh, as a catalyst, but magnesium and potassium are not transition element, which is why these two elements cannot show catalytic property. So potassium or magnesium. So examiner is looking for only one. So either you can write potassium or magnesium. It's totally up to you. State which of the 5 metal in the list is a major component of stainless steel. Iron. Stainless steel consists of 2 elements. The first one is called iron and the second one is carbon. Okay. A student adds a sample of metal to an aqueous metal salt in a beaker to see if displacement reaction takes place. By the way, displacement reaction is also called redox reaction. Okay. Complete table 2.1 to show the color of the solution in the beaker at the start and at the end of the experiment. Okay. So magnesium is more reactive, can displace iron to ions from its solution into iron metal and magnesium sulfate is formed. So obviously this is green and it will turn to magnesium sulfate, so it is colorless. So from green to colorless. Now silver is less reactive than copper, which means displacement cannot possible here in this scenario. As a result, copper sulfate has a blue solution. Okay. And obviously, colors remains blue because there will be no reaction. Because silver is less reactive than copper, silver cannot displace copper ions into copper metal because of its less reactivity. So solution, the color of solution remains same. Next, most group 2 metals from a gas when placed into cold water and alkaline solution is also formed. Okay. So take any group 2 metal, for instance magnesium, react करते हैं cold water से, for instance H2O will turn to magnesium hydroxide, and magnesium hydroxide is an alkaline solution, and obviously hydrogen gas is given off. Okay, so that gas is basically hydrogen gas, and that alkaline solution is basically metal hydroxides. Let me check examiner. Name the gas form when strontium is added to cold water. When strontium is added to cold water, obviously hydrogen gas is given out. Name an alkaline solution form when strontium is added to cold water. Let's suppose this is your strontium. It is treated with cold water, converting into strontium hydroxide. Just like magnesium hydroxide, हम strontium hydroxide बनाएंगे and hydrogen gas. So strontium hydroxide is the right answer. One group 2 metal reacts very slowly when placed in cold water. That's what we have done in the class. That's what I did in metals chapter, very slowly. So magnesium reacts very slowly with cold water. Otherwise, when that metal reacts with the steam, then it turns into white solid. So when magnesium reacts with the steam, obviously it turns into magnesium oxide, which is a white solid, and hydrogen gas. And when magnesium reacts with cold water, it turns into magnesium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. So identify this metal and name the white solid form. So metal is magnesium. An examiner is looking for the name, which means I cannot give symbol, okay? And obviously the white solid is magnesium oxide. Under certain conditions, iron will react with the steam to form iron oxide, to form an oxide of iron with the formula Fe3O4. मैं पहले भी बता चुका हूँ, आज फिर बता देता हूँ आपको. This Fe3O4 is basically a mixture of two oxide. The first one is iron 2 oxide. The second one is iron 3 oxide. So this compound is a mixture of these two oxides of iron. Okay. Okay. When Fe3O4 reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid. So by the way, these are the reactants. Mixture of iron 2 and iron 3 salts and water are formed. And these are the products. So deduce the symbol equation for the reaction. So that's easy. We have done this equation in one of the paper in Cambridge examination, okay? This is Fe3O4 plus HCl, arrow, iron 2 chloride, then iron 3 chloride, and then water. Okay. So this chlorine reacts with iron 2 ions to convert into iron 2 chloride. When iron 3 ions react with this chloride, iron 3 chloride is formed and water. Let me balance the equation. How many oxygens we have? 4. So put 4 here. How many hydrogen atoms here? 8. Put 8 here. How many chloride ions here? 8. Put 2 here. So 2 times 3, 6. 6 plus 2, 8. So chloride balanced. How many iron here? 2. How many iron here? 1. 2 plus 1, 3. So yeah. Okay, now the question is, मुझे कैसे पता चला मुझे यहाँ पर 2 लगाने? मैंने यहाँ क्यों 2 नहीं लगाया? क्योंकि यहाँ पर जो फॉर्मूला है आयरन 3 आयंस में Fe2 है, तो इसका मतलब जो आयरन 3 आयंस वाला है सॉल्ट, उसके साथ मैं 2 लगाऊंगा क्योंकि इसमें 2 है, इसलिए मैंने यहाँ पर 2 लगाया. ओके, आई होप इट मेक्स सेंस टू यू कि भाई मुझे कैसे पता चला कि इन दोनों में से 2 इसके पास लगेगा, तो मैंने जजमेंट यहां से की. ये जो कंपाउंड है उसमें आयरन का 3+ आयन अवेलेबल है, तो आयरन 3+ आयन से जो क्लोराइड बनेगा वो FeCl3 बनेगा, राइट? एंड ऑब्वियसली मैं 2 इसके साथ इसलिए लगाऊंगा क्योंकि यहाँ पर 2 अवेलेबल है, इसके साथ 2 नहीं है, इसलिए मैं इसके साथ 2 नहीं लगाऊंगा. आई होप इट मेक्स सेंस टू यू. ओके, दैट इज द होल ट्रिक बिहाइंड दैट, एंड दैट्स अ वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन, very good question. Okay, next question, question number 3. The symbol equation for the industrial production of ammonia is shown. So reaction is exothermic. which means forward reaction is exothermic. So if forward reaction is exothermic, obviously backward reaction becomes endothermic, or reverse reaction is endothermic. Name this industrial process. By the way, Haber's process. Next is state the meaning of delta H. Delta is change, H is enthalpy. So it's going to be enthalpy change. State the typical conditions and the name of the catalyst used in the industrial production. Examiner is looking for the name of the catalyst, okay? So temperature in units 450 degrees Celsius. Pressure in unit 200 atmosphere. Catalyst use iron. Okay. State two methods of increasing rate of this reaction. In order to increase the rate, either we can increase the pressure and obviously increase the temperature. So I'm going to write both. Increase in pressure and increase in temperature. Okay. Next, the symbol equation for the reaction can be represented as shown. Okay. I believe we have done this question in the class. By the way, forward reaction is exothermic, delta H is minus. Bond energy values are given. Use the bond energy in the table and delta H to calculate the bond energy of the NH bond in kilojoules per mole. Calculate the energy needed to break bonds in the reactants. So we have nitrogen molecule, we have 1 mole of nitrogen and we have 3 moles of hydrogen. So nitrogen has a bond energy of 945. Hydrogen has a bond energy of 435, and since we are using 3 moles in the equation, so multiply by 3. So it's going to be how much? Ouch. Hold on. 435 times 3 is going to be 1305. Let me add these two values. So plus 945 is going to be 2250. Okay. Calculate the energy released when bonds forms in the product. Okay. So technically we are making 2 molecules of ammonia here, or 2 moles of ammonia here. So in each molecule we have 3 NH bond. We have total 3 NH bond here. So technically we have total 6 NH bond here. Okay. And we need to find out the value of bond energy of NH, right? So it's going to be 6 NH. So it's going to be 6x. Now determine the energy. So let's plug in the value. Delta H equals to enthalpy of reactant minus enthalpy of product. Enthalpy of reactant is 2250 minus enthalpy of product is 6x. Delta H is minus 90. So the value of x from here is going to be 390. kilojoules per mole. So this is 6x and this is 390 kilojoules per mole, okay? And the value is plus. Whew, okay. Next, an incomplete symbol equation for the preparation of ammonia in the laboratory as shown. When any ammonium salt react with any base, then always ammonia gas is formed. Salt and water is formed. This is going to be the water. That's what we have done in the class. When any ammonium salt react with any base, then always salt, water and ammonia gas is given out. यही तो statement लिखवाया मैंने आपको. Okay, name this compound. That's easy. Ammonium chloride. Okay. Calculate the volume of ammonia measured at room temperature and pressure when 1.12 gram of calcium oxide is heated with excess ammonium chloride. MR of calcium oxide is given. So first of all, let me find out the moles of calcium oxide. 1.12 divided by 56. So it's going to be 0.02 moles. Now, according to the equation, calcium oxide and ammonia has 1:2 का ratio. So अगर हमने 0.02 moles calculate किए हैं, तो moles of ammonia would be 0.04 moles. I need to find out the volume of ammonia. And for that, I need to multiply moles with molar volume. So molar volume at RTP is going to be 24,000 cm cube. So it's going to be 960 cm cube. So 960 cm cube is the right answer. So that's the end of third question. Let's move on to the fourth one. A carboxylic acid reacts with an alcohol to produce an ester and water. Under certain conditions, this reaction can be reversed. So an ester reacts with water, produces a carboxylic acid X and alcohol Y. By the way, मैंने आपसे कहा था कि अल्कोहल और कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड मिलकर एस्टर और वाटर बनाते हैं, लेकिन ये क्वेश्चन भी एग्जामिनर कर सकते हैं कि व्हेन एस्टर रिएक्ट्स विद वाटर इट विल टर्न बैक टू कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड एंड अल्कोहल, और एग्जामिनर वही एग्जैक्ट क्वेश्चन आपसे कर रहे हैं. The reaction reaches an equilibrium. All right. The forward reaction is endothermic. इसका मतलब डेल्टा H जो है वो इस रिएक्शन की पॉजिटिव होगी. ओके. मैं पहले भी बता चुका हूं आपको. This is going to be the alcohol part. And obviously एक कार्बन एटम का जो अल्कोहल है वो मिथेनॉल होता है. And this is going to be the acid part. 3 carbon atom का acid is basically propanoic acid. So technically propanoic acid and methanol are reacting together, converting into this ester. Okay. Deduce the empirical formula of this ester. Okay. So we have how many carbon atoms? 1, 2, 3, 4 carbon atoms. We have how many hydrogen? 8 hydrogen atoms. We have 2 oxygen atoms. Okay. So when we divide by 2, it's going to be C2H4O. So C2H4O is basically the empirical formula, because half of the molecular formula is empirical formula. Name this ester. नाम देने के लिए सबसे पहले अल्कोहल का पार्ट, फिर एसिड का पार्ट. सो दिस इज मिथाइल, दिस इज प्रोपेनोइक. कंपाउंड का नाम इज मिथाइल प्रोपेनोइक. Name the carboxylic acid X and draw its displayed formula. Name is propanoic acid. और propanoic acid का displayed structure मैंने class में बताया. You should know. You should remember such structures. This is CH3. This is CH2. And this is COOH. Name alcohol Y and give its structural formula. Methanol. And its structural formula is given in the register, which is CH3OH. Okay. That's an easy question. Next, complete table 4.1 to show the effect, if any, for each change of the condition. Temperature is decreased. When temperature is decreased in an endothermic reaction, equilibrium favors towards left-hand side. So concentration of X at equilibrium obviously decreases because equilibrium favors towards left-hand side. Okay. Decreases. If concentration of ester is decreased, again equilibrium favors towards left-hand side. The concentration of X also decreases. That's easy. That's very straightforward. More alcohol Y is added. When we add alcohol, obviously product increase hoga. This will favors the equilibrium towards left-hand side. Obviously, concentration of X also decreases. Catalyst affects only the rate of reaction. It has nothing to do with the concentration. Okay, so no effect. So concentration of this, more alcohol Y, and catalyst is added. At the beginning of the reaction between ester and water, no carboxylic acid is present in the reaction mixture. Suggest how the pH of the reaction mixture changes from the start of the reaction when equilibrium is reached. Assume alcohol and esters are neutral. pH at the start of the reaction, obviously, if ester is neutral, then pH is 7.0. Okay. pH at equilibrium, obviously, कुछ ना कुछ तो carboxylic acid होगा at equilibrium, and carboxylic acid is basically a weak acid, so its range could be between 3 to 6.5. Okay, 3.0 to 6.5. और आप ये भी लिख सकते हैं, और between 3 to 7, बस 7 पे तो न्यूट्रल है ना, तो इसलिए 7 से कम मेंशन करो. 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, 6.8, 6.9. Do not mention 7. Okay, I don't think so कि इसको mention करना चाहिए, because 7 पे तो neutral है. Identify the ion that causes the change in the pH. Obviously hydrogen ion, because pH directly depends on the concentration of hydrogen ion. I've told you in the class, I've given you the calculation stuff. That was the formula जो कि मैंने pH को determine करने के लिए use किया था. सही है? Name an indicator which can be used to follow the change in pH. Obviously universal indicator. That's the end of question number 4. Let's move on to the next question. That is question number 5. Sulfur is a group 6 element. A sample of sulfur contains two isotopes, S32 and S34. Complete table 5.1 to show the number of protons and neutrons in one atom of each isotope of sulfur. Sulfur has an atomic number of 16. So both the sulfur atom has an atomic number of 16, which means both of them have 16 protons. In order to calculate neutrons, I'll subtract 32 minus 16, so you will get 16 here. 34 minus 16 becomes 18. Suggest why these isotopes have identical chemical properties. By the way, Identical chemical properties of isotopes depends on the number of electrons, as the number of electron is same in both the isotope, which is why they have same chemical properties. Because they have same number of electrons, and chemical property depends on same number of electrons. Okay, state the mass of 6.02 times 10 to the power 23 atoms of sulfur. Include units in your answer. Obviously, this is equals to 1 mole, and 1 mole of sulfur has a mass of 34. So I'm going to write 34 here. Okay. And obviously, I'm going to give the unit also, gram. Remember one thing, give 1 mole is always equals to 6.02 times 20 to the power 23, which is equal to 34 gram, which is why you answer the MN example. State the name of the amount of substance which contain this much atom. Obviously, moles. ये लिखा हुआ. Next is, table shows the relative abundance of these isotopes of sulfur in the sample. This is 95, this is 5%. Calculate the relative atomic mass of sulfur in this sample to 1 decimal place. Examiner is looking for the answer to 1 decimal place. So that's an easy thing. 32 multiplied by 95 plus 34 into 5 divided by total abundance, which is going to be 100. So answer is going to be 32.1. And that format we have discussed in the class. मैंने ये फॉर्मेट क्लोरीन के लिए और ब्रोमीन के लिए यूज किया था, अगर आपको याद हो. फॉर्मूला भी दिया है, मैंने एग्जैक्ट वही फॉर्मूला यूज किया है. मास ऑफ फर्स्ट आइसोटोप इनटू अबंडेंस ऑफ फर्स्ट आइसोटोप प्लस mass of second isotope into abundance of second isotope divided by total abundance. Okay, that was the formula given in the during the lecture. तो आपको याद होना चाहिए बहुत अच्छे तरीके से. Next, sulfur reacts with magnesium to form magnesium sulfide, which is an ionic compound, contain ionic bonding. Draw and dot and cross diagram of the ions in the magnesium sulfide. Okay, first of all, let's talk about magnesium. Magnesium has an atomic number of 12, so it has 12 electrons. First shell contain 2, second shell contain 8, and third shell contain 2. Magnesium is found in group 2 of the periodic table, which is why magnesium carries 2 plus charge, which means it loses 2 electrons from its valence shell. So the configuration becomes 2 and 8. 2 तो दिए में, मुझे 8 बना के देना एग्जामिनर को. And obviously these electrons are represented by cross 2, 4, 6, and this one is 8. Okay, sulfur has an atomic number of 16, so its configuration is 2, 8, and 6. So examiner ने मुझे 2 दिए, examiner ने मुझे 6 दिए, but instead of 6, examiner ने यहाँ पर total कितने लिखे हैं? 8. इसका मतलब 2 electrons gain हो गए, which is why it is a charge of 2 minus, it is a charge of 2 plus. By the way, एक छोटा सा error मुझे लगता है examiner के end से हो गया, because यहाँ पर cross है, तो it must be a cross instead of dot. Okay, it has to be like this. बहरहाल examiner ने खुद लिखा है तो हम उसमें changes नहीं कर सकते, but हमने conceptually तो इसी तरह से deal किया है कि जो भी electron magnesium का होता है वो non metal gain करता है. तो 2 electron gain होंगे जिसकी वजह से 2 minus charge आएगा. Suggest why MgS has the highest melting point, or 1 mark, 1 line. So one liner answer is exhibit giant ionic lattice with strong electrostatic attraction. State why molten MgS conducts electricity because of the presence of free mobile ions. An acid containing sulfur reacts with sodium hydroxide to form salt and water. The salt has a formula sodium sulfite. Deduce the formula of this acid. Obviously, this sulfite comes from sulfurous acid, and sulfurous acid has a formula of H2SO3. We have done that in class. याद होना चाहिए आपको. So formula is H2SO3. तो ये आपके पास है NaOH. इसको रिएक्शन करना है मैंने एक एसिड के साथ और ये कन्वर्ट होगा सोडियम सल्फाइड एंड वाटर. सो मैंने जज कैसे किया मैं ये बताता हूँ आपको. ये सोडियम मिल रहा है सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड से, तो ये सल्फाइड मुझे एसिड से मिलेगा. और सल्फाइड कौन से एसिड में होता है? H2SO3 में होता है और इसका नाम क्या होता है? सल्फ्यूरस एसिड. Next, deduce the formula of the anion in sodium sulfide. Obviously, sodium sulfide contains sulfide ions, which has a charge of 2 minus. Sodium sulfide is oxidized by acidified potassium magnate 7. This potassium magnate 7 is basically an oxidizing agent. And obviously, this compound has a purple color. State what 7 refers to the name of the potassium magnate 7. Oxidation state of manganese. We have discussed such issues in the class. Oxidation state of manganese. State the color change when this reaction takes place. Potassium magnate 7 is purple when it is treated with sodium sulfide, which is a colorless compound. Obviously, color changes from purple to colorless. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Glucose is involved in two processes. Glucose as a formula of C6H12O6 is made in plants from carbon dioxide and water. That process is called photosynthesis. Examiner is looking for the name of this particular process. Obviously, photosynthesis. Write the symbol equation for this process. 6CO2 plus 6H2O converting into C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Okay. Next, state 2 essential conditions needed for this process to happen. For photosynthesis, I need sunlight and I need chlorophyll. Okay. Glucose is converted into ethanol. Name this process fermentation. Name the other product form when glucose is converted into ethanol. When glucose is converted into ethanol during fermentation, carbon dioxide gas is also given off. An examiner is looking for the name, so we cannot write the formula, okay? Name. Ethanol is made by reacting ethene with the steam in the industrial process. State the conditions and type of catalyst used in this industrial manufacture of ethanol. Temperature is going to be 300 degrees Celsius. Pressure is basically 60 atmosphere. And phosphoric acid is basically the catalyst. Okay, H3PO4, phosphoric acid. Explain why this reaction is an addition reaction, because only one product is formed. Okay. Next, my goodness. Oh, draw the complete dot and cross diagram of a molecule of ethanol. So guys, molecule of ethanol has to be like this. So all of them are single bond, which means one electron of each element share together. So carbon has a 4 valence electrons because it is found in group 4 of the periodic table. 1, 2, 3, and this one is 4. Now this carbon electron represented by cross. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oxygen has 6 valence electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one is 6. So हाइड्रोजन के जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है वो क्रॉस से रिप्रेजेंट कर दीजिए यहाँ पर हाइड्रोजन के जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है वो डॉट से रिप्रेजेंट कर दीजिए और यहाँ जो हाइड्रोजन के इलेक्ट्रॉन है वो क्रॉस से. सो दैट इज द होल गेम. ओके, और आप नोट कर रहे हैं इट इज नॉट गिवन इन द सिलेबस, बस एग्जामिनर पूछ रहे हैं. तो एग्जामिनर ने कितना टफ डॉट एंड क्रॉस डायग्राम आपसे पूछा है. इसका मतलब यू शुड नो हाउ टू अप्लाई द कॉन्सेप्ट, क्योंकि जो कॉन्सेप्ट एप्लीकेशन आपने मेरे साथ सीखी है क्लास में वो तमाम मॉलिक्यूल्स पे अप्लाई होती है और मैंने एग्जैक्टली वही कॉन्सेप्ट यहाँ पर अप्लाई करके दिखाया है आपको कि वैलेंस शेल में कितने इलेक्ट्रॉन्स होते हैं 4, इसके भी 4, इसके 6, इसका 1, इसका 1. मैंने वो कॉन्सेप्ट अप्लाई करके एडजस्टमेंट्स करके दिए हैं आपको. ओके, दैट्स द एंड ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन. लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट वन. That's the end of this paper, guys.